Welcome to our second broadcast of London Fashion Week. Our wonderful panel today, it's author and curator Bronwyn Cosgrave. We have agent Andrea Gelardin, got it right, founder of blog Liberty London Girl, the wonderful Sasha Wilkins. How are you all? Well?
Great.
Great.
Yeah? You looking forward to our broadcast?
Ready
Absolutely.
for it.
How are you all enjoying London Fashion Week so far? What have you seen? What's been the highlights?
I went to the Moschino Cheap and Chic show last night and I thought it was, I didn't love everything in it, but I thought it was really bold and colorful, and I thought it's great to have a European brand showing in London, and they've kind of made a commitment to London, which I think is good. And I'd love to see more labels from the continent or New York showing in London. I think that would really add something to London Fashion Week.
Really? For me, I just sometimes worry that it then pushes out our designers from the schedule when they fought so hard to get a place. There's only so many shows that fit on the London Fashion Week schedule.
But if
and
you
at the moment it's hell trying to get to them
But if
all.
you take the positive view, you would think that maybe it would expand London Fashion Week beyond a sort of 4-day bottleneck.
But does anyone want it to be longer than 4 days? The fashion show calendar is long enough as it is. Milan and Paris are like these elastic bands that keep stretching.
I think a couple of days would actually give it a little bit of strength.
It might give it, I think, lessen the pace, as you were saying. It's already kind of, like there are so many scheduling problems where people can't get to a certain show they want to get to because they have to go to something else. And I don't think you have that the same in the other cities.
But I also think that there are so many ideas in London when you talk about the frenetic pace of it. The London designers have got so many ideas, and then to process it, when you see something like Christopher Kane and Erdem back to back, you come out with so much, and then you're like, well, do I have time to actually think about it?
Do you not think that's the strength of London, that sort of huge range that you get? You never know what you're going to see.
Well, I think the creativity is definitely the strength of it, but I think a sort of, just a strong commercial vibe about it too, and I think that's when you get, say, a brand like Burberry, that certainly did a lot for it. I think, say, if Victoria Beckham came and showed here, it would really add something to it also.
That makes sense, but then she is also British and her business is based here, so...
Yeah, but if you actually think, if you go back to, say, the 1980s, where it was this whole thing in London that it had to be about British, and I really don't think that it should be just. New York isn't just about British designers. Paris Fashion Week isn't just about French designers, of course. So I think actually, make it, multicultural.
Why do you think people come to London? Because a lot of people have this idea of what London's identity is, and I think it's quite easy to throw certain words out, like very creative, very exciting, like young designers. But why do you think people actually come to London? What do you guys see as its main sort of
It's interesting to see how many Australian designers are coming over here at the moment. We had Dion Lee, Willow, and Stoppard obviously showed here for years. And I guess they're coming to London because they have an immediate cultural link with us, and it makes more sense for them to show. But I think people just want to be part of London at the moment. It's so exciting. If you've been going to the shows as long as, I guess, Bronwyn and I have, I started going in the late 90s here, it's just changed beyond measure. It's become, when I was on the Wall Street Journal, we didn't come to London, and that was only in 2008, because they felt that it wasn't worth anyone's time or budget. In just 4 years, the climate's changed in the most extraordinary way.
What do you think's been...
Well, I actually have an answer. Sorry. But I think buyers and editors from the United States, Canada, Paris come to London not just for the shows, but also to see what's going on in London. Because I think the wonderful thing about London is one of the only world capitals where there's a complete mix between fashion, art, even theatre. If you think about Juliette Binoche wearing Lanvin, I think that's really interesting. And I think that the buyers that I know will come over here. They want to go out to the restaurants, they want to go to the galleries and to the theatre. So you get this incredible mix.
Andrea, that's kind of your line of work, because obviously you work with fashion, film, and kind of that merging of art and fashion. Do you think that is something that's a selling point for London aside for other cities?
Yeah, definitely. I just think it's so raw. There's so many ideas. Also, there are no limits, like in other places it's much more tame. You can't, it's very hard to shock people in London, You can do anything you want, everything's legal, you can just, you know what I mean?
If you
I don't know, you can do it literally anything you want, you can be whoever you are, and that's a big thing.
Is that sustainable though? Because Sasha, I'm interested that you mentioned kind of the Wall Street Journal, you didn't even cover it until about 2008, and you've kind of had this meteoric rise in London. But do you think that's going to last, or can you see it kind of this
No,
kind
I
of
think
mad
it's
rush?
going to last, because as Bronwyn says, the big international companies, the Mosquitos, the Burberrys, they seem like they're here to stay. Burberry, they may not manufacture here anymore. There's a whole big issue with Burberry and its English-British heritage. But we won't go into that right now. But for them, it is a central pillar of their brand story that they are a British brand showing in Britain. And while they continue to show here, editors have to come, let alone the ones who want to come for the ambiance and everything else.
And you know, like last night at Moschino, next to me were these two, 20-something pop stars, and they were dressed by Moschino. And I think the pop music scene here too is really strong. And the models, for that matter, so many of them are British.
Yeah.
I think there's kind of a very like young, cool vibe in London.
Yeah.
Like if you look at some of the
The
designers,
rest
you
is
look like Henry.
boring.
Well, and the thing is actually, London's always been, for lack of a better description, the capital of cool. But the great thing about London Fashion Week was that, Sir Philip Green woke up, Sir Harold Tillman woke up and thought, let's put some money behind this and make it, a viable proposition, and the rest is history.
Well, we're celebrating 10 years of New Gen this year.
Yep.
Yeah, it's incredible. And talking on the topic of New Gen, talking of a young sort of designer who's come up and now really I think is central to London is Marios Schwab, who we're going to be talking about today. Do you think, is it someone you guys have followed? Do you think his story really does sort of...
Well, he won New Gen after his first solo catwalk show, which, there used to be a British Fashion Award for New Generation Designer, and he won it in, was it 2009? No, 2008, just after he'd shown his first full collection, which is amazing. No one normally rises that quickly.
He's hugely talented. He's one of my favourites. I think he's wonderful. He's got amazing taste. He's always... It's funny, I normally gravitate towards either full-on, really sexy clothes or the more architectural sort of Yamamoto style thing, but Marios is one of those people who mixes them a bit together. He's really smart.
I would say actually with Andrea, he has that mix of kind of structure, sex appeal and minimalism, which I find actually that's his sort of unique selling point. And I think the clothes have got a really kind of dressy, uptown kind of chic vibe, which you don't see on every runway in London. I think they're incredibly polished. I think maybe if he's suffered in the past, I would say it's from kind of offbeat styling, like the Marlene Dietrich collection. The hats were maybe a bit too big. The Joan Jett collection, which I actually loved and discovered him. That was the first show I went to. No. But actually, it was just the hair. But if you think about it, the Joan Jett movie was out at the time, so he was picking up something in the air, but it was just too self-conscious.
What I like is that he's evolved.
He's got a point of view, and that's,
His father was a manager for Triumph. He's got that bra engineering lingerie thing. And his second show for Fashion East, which was at the Bluebird, which I remember very clearly in 2006, there was this massive buzz about him. And people were sort of re-looking at Versace from the 90s. And the show was clearly influenced, but it didn't feel like Pastiche of Alaïa or Versace in any way. And it was a very lingerie-inspired, very flippy. It had little suspender hooks here. And you can still see it when you look at the Joan Jett collection here. He's kept that point of view, but it still looks different every season. And he dresses for a woman's body. And I clearly am a woman and not a girl in the bus department. And I can wear Marios's clothes, and I love that. I am kind of fed up with the let's dress a plank with 2 buttons on the front, which so many British designers like to do.
I think what's really interesting about Marios is his clothes are very wearable, and like you said, they're very sexy, and there's something very feminine about them. But he is one of the great sort of conceptualists of London. He thinks a lot about his clothes. His clothes have a lot of
mystery.
Yeah.
I think they're mysterious.
He always has his muse and a great backstory.
I actually don't find it wearable so much as, red carpet. You've seen Zoe Saldana wear his clothes, Demi Moore. I think and he was at Holston. And I think with Holston, you were saying earlier that you think his collections attain this sense of polish when he was the design director at Holston. And I think that, that same kind of very sleek movie star look, I think he really can do that. And I really hope that we'll see a lot more of his clothes at the BAFTAs and the Oscars, for that matter.
Well, he calls his signature like a sexy little dress, and I think there's something kind of so simple and so nice about a designer who is kind of just willing to embrace, women want a great dress, and that's kind of what someone like Christopher Kane built London's identity on, these amazing kind of showstopper little type
Then again,
but then
for those of you at home, this is his show invitation.
I love it. I really love
we
it.
can go to a close-up of
I mean,
It's so cool.
So I'm kind
That's a
of
beautiful
curious to know how this is going to translate into sexy little dress.
It's inspired by nature and human ancestry this season, so it is going out there a little bit.
He's got big ideas, but he does manage to kind of whittle them down and sculpt. If you look at the silhouette, very sculpted, very, kind of va-va-voom, saleable collections as opposed to wearable. I think wearable is always a bit of a worrying word. I mean, they said that about Erdem's early collections, but as he kind of made it a little bit more avant-garde, I think that's when he really hit his stride.
I think one thing as well with Marios is I think with London, we kind of all said this earlier, there's so much to see and there's so much energy that in a way it's almost, I kind of find it frustrating sometimes because I think designers like real talent and technique is very easily brushed over because people are so excited by who's on the front row or what colours it is, an amazing soundtrack. But with someone like Marios, it's just his technique is just incredible, and there's never.
If you turn his clothes inside out, they are immaculately constructed.
Yeah,
it frustrates me that so many fashion writers and bloggers, even though I am one, don't look at how the clothes are made anymore, and it really annoys me because that's what makes it very exciting. You've got to be able to make the clothes not fall apart after one wear.
But I think, right now too, there's a bit of a danger in London where there are a lot of bells and whistles. There are a lot of, really like Meadham Kirchhoff, for example, like this sort of overwhelming sense. Yeah. And the music and the girls. And when you come along and you see a rather slick, strong uptown collection, people are like, well, where's the this, the that? Yeah. Well, it is what it is, and he's got an identity, and I think that's admirable.
Do you think that's why he has been one of the ones that's really sort of managed to cultivate his status and last?
Buyers love him, don't they? Basically.
I haven't seen him, honestly, with the exception of the Joan Jett wigs. I think he's really turned out consistently from that time on very strong collections.
Yeah, me too. And also they're not so obvious. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
it's a sort of mystery about everything he does. It's very clever.
And he's grown. He hasn't decided to go and do huge showpiece things. He showed a fashionista 2 seasons in a row, finding his feet. I thought that was very, very clever of him, just to gradually build it.
Is he someone that you would find that your readers, who are obviously sort of young women or who are interested in fashion, I presume that's the core of your readers?
My main readers are actually women in their 30s, because it obviously reflects me, and I'm in my late 30s. And my readers have got money, they like to shop, and Marios is exactly the kind of person they like, because they are beautiful investment pieces that you'd want to wear.
Investment pieces, yeah, definitely. I think he's got the strength to be a brand. That's what it's about, like it's not just about selling a collection. Could he open a boutique on Bond Street? I think, yes, he's got that, grown-up kind of
don't forget
appeal.
The lingerie. He's launching Callisto tonight at the Crazy Horse on the Crazy Horse Girls. Well, I understand that there are going to be pieces on the runway from the new lingerie collection with ASOS. And I think that's going to be really, really interesting. Because I was talking to someone the other day who had no idea that he had this whole lingerie background. And I'm like, well,
really? Who? I mean, it's a bit obvious.
But that's what I was saying about people who don't know enough.
Yeah.
We have this proliferation of outlets across all media with people who just don't know enough about the history of the designers they're talking about. And I find it enormously frustrating.
With Marios, you have to know that. You have to know that about him and that kind of the fact that his dad worked in a bra factory. You have to know that because that's so integral.
And because he talks in his interview about how he grew up looking at his father's
and he's really
But beyond the dad story, I think it's really the training, his sort of really technical tailoring, and he's so well educated. I mean, he studied in Germany, got a master's at Central St. Martin's. I mean, he's very well educated. And as you said earlier, he's had really good kind of background experience at a few brands.
He was at Clements, he was at Kim Jones.
And you get the sense he's really cultivated what he wants to do and really thought about it. It's very considered, every collection.
I think Bronwyn's completely right. He's someone who could do a store and a diffusion line because he has such a strong trademark. Absolutely M by Marios, whatever he wanted to call it. So the lingerie with ASOS is brilliant because it means that ASOS are taking so much of the risk. But getting ASOS is such a behemoth these days. digitally extravagantly brilliant, and that means Marios' name is going to go out to a much wider audience. It's a very clever move.
It's a very clever move, I think, as well, because as you said, it's tapping into this whole new audience, and people who can afford to buy into the Marios Schwab sort of.
His clothes are unbelievably expensive, though.
But it's also staying really true to him. He's doing lingerie, which is so integral to his
I think it's dropping in November.
I'm excited. I'm really shopping for it.
It looks like we're about to begin.
Yeah, we're about to begin. I do want to talk a little bit after the show's finished about this idea of kind of sexy fashion and sort of clothes that make women feel like women, because I think, as you mentioned, with all the bells and whistles in London, sometimes that just gets lost, and you look at the clothes and they may be sort of very striking and even very well made often, but you look at them and you think, you know, does that flatter a woman? Does that?
Yeah, but
or is it a gay male sort of point of view on a woman?
It depends also who you're dressing for. You know, yourself.
And looking beyond the show styling.
Yeah, that's very true.
Because, you know, the difference between the runway collection and the selling collection.
Well, he looks like he's got a few American Vogue editors in the audience, which is good.
I'm actually
it's always a good
sign.
Oh, right, no, it's
that's the bad
sign.
lighting in the tent.
I'm like, wow.
Or maybe
it's
it's
like one of those
actually
heart
an
monitor
effect. I
things.
hope he's not bathing them in blue light.
Do you think he is one of those designers that people come to London for?
Yes, I think he's definitely in the top five.
If you look where he is on the show schedule, I mean, today and tomorrow, the two really big days.
And the editors came in last night, you know?
Yeah.
So I think, yes, definitely he's up there. It's like Christopher Kane, Erdem, Marius, Giles.
Mary.
But I think what's interesting about him is he's always kind of
Mary.
maintained
Roxanda too now.
Oh yeah, Roxanda. But I love that generation, you know, that kind of, they're above the ones who are just kind of starting out and finding their technique, but they still have this kind of rawness and excitement about them. Someone like Marios, you still feel like he's young and exciting.
I don't actually. I think he's really kind of far ahead of the pack. He's now done like a 7th Avenue collection. And again, I think the look is very grown up. I think that may be why he kind of struggles with the British critics. But as you say, I mean, he's got strong sales, and he's taken seriously by stylists in LA. I mean, that's a really, girls there get paid thousands to wear dresses, and then you see, a top star like Zoe or Demi Moore wearing his clothes on the red carpet. And so I think that's actually a really, that's a bonus.
Yeah. I'm interested you mentioned kind of that he has a kind of an international audience beyond some of the British critics. Do you think that his clothes do kind of resonate better with sort of people who from New York or Paris or Milan, those other fashion cities?
I mean, I don't think this is fashion that you're going to see on the streets. It's like for young ladies who lunch or going out to dinner, you know? So it might not be, but I saw Andrea Dalal, a socialite from Holland Park in the front row at one of his shows. I mean, he's got that, I think he's got serious clients. So it might not be kind of down in Hoxton, but in Mayfair,
well, I think everywhere.
That's his client.
But he can do demure and sexy at the same time, which is a very, very hard balancing act. You look at the Italians who just do hooker. And
what?
I really love that.
Whereas he just gets
on the runway.
It's the smart sexy girl, it's someone who wants to look great but doesn't want to look
I actually think there is a bit of a hooker kind of vibe with him,
but it's a considered hooker.
It's a sex appeal.
This is a very, very, very high class call girl.
Or mystery, as you say, Andrea. I think there's an element of mystery there.
Yeah, and to do with the inside and outside that Sasha was talking about, I think that's a big deal in his clothes. He's I know him well, and when he's always talking about the interior versus exterior, he's fascinated by nature and how that translates into the inside and outside of his clothes. And that's, I don't know, that's something really quite powerful. It's really mysterious, and it makes it like the way he works the Swarovski, also the crystals. He never just, I don't know, he does a very interesting thing. He sometimes has slits where they're just reflected a bit underneath, and it's subtle, but it's very sexy.
Those that he's been playing with for a while, those layers of sheer fabric, just stunning.
Are we going to hear the music, by the way?
The music is always a big thing.
He's got good music.
Is that as loud as it can go?
Okay.
It's in that box.
Oh yes, got it.
I know.
It's going to be anything to do with this.
I'm so glad you thought that. It's always that nervous moment.
I know, I'm so excited.
It's kind of nice for a Sunday that it's mellow.
Like Anthony Allison, who opened London Fashion Week last season with some kind of banging dustbin lid track.
See, here we have it, very mellow.
Oh wow.
I love it already.
Very slick. And transparent. That's a big thing with
And
him
the-
Well,
always.
that's something so true to him. It's Val
Cool
Garland who's
makeup.
done-
And the warrior
Val
girl.
Garland did the makeup.
Did she,
Yeah.
Val?
Yeah.
Love it.
I like the music.
What I love with him is this. Already, we can see it's not wildly different to what he's done before.
No, it's not. It's a
But I think we know
continuation.
that
I don't
he's
know about
strong
that
enough to
raffia
say-
though. I mean, I like it on the shoes, but I certainly wouldn't. I mean, buy that dress. Not that it ever has to be that way, but maybe it's just a runway look. That's beautiful.
That is
A bit
beautiful.
Marilyn Monroe, actually.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah,
Again, though, it does feel like, I think already it feels like an evolution. And that's
Yeah.
what I love about him.
And you can tell a designer's really hit their stride, you know, when they're not afraid to say, you know, I
Wow.
love sheer, I love
And I mean, that white
That's
dress, you can
really-
wear like Fred Leighton jewelry on it. It's fantastic.
that makeup by Val is just
It's beautiful.
That's great.
makeup.
Now that's a great
The
look.
hair is great too. I love it.
Isn't
And
it
there's a
brilliant?
texture. You know, there's a texture.
That footwear is amazing.
The footwear's fun. The styling is definitely on.
Yeah, who's
Isn't it
Sasha
great
Wilkins?
to see a show where every bit is working together perfectly?
And the hair is great.
Energy.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And
It's
colour.
beautifully cast as well. I
And
think
you
all those
know,
models
the
look
thing
gorgeous.
like what
They're
the
stunning
Halston
models.
actually once said, it's easy to do a big dress, but it's actually incredibly difficult to do something minimal and striking. And
Yeah.
there you have it.
Yep.
They're fun dresses.
I've noticed this week. There's been a real trend for girls not to wear heels on the runway.
Yeah.
We saw Victoria Beckham, you know.
Clements had the girls in
Oh, really?
Melissa Jelly
Mm.
shoes. Jasper's girls were bare feet. It's so nice not to see the girls struggling to walk in ridiculous
yeah.
shoes. I'm so done with
It's
that.
a sign of the times.
I absolutely love that makeup.
But I mean, it is the kind of collection that it would be worthwhile going backstage and
Yes.
trying it on.
Oh, but then there are some heels.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that dress.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
That one's stunning.
And I mean, it does take guts to do something this kind of, you know, dressed up and polished in London. It's
Yeah.
not, but he can make a statement with that. And with, you know, a cleverly executed collection, he's away.
And it's a good day for him to be
beautiful.
showing
Cool
because
colour.
there's no
Very
one else
strong
showing
colours.
today like this.
Very
Yeah.
beautiful.
That's a really, that's an
These colours,
interesting,
wow. Love that.
Is that
fleshy
printed like a Fortuny
Love
dress?
That's
Love it.
beautiful. I love. This reminds me of the Alex Wang show with the gorgeous, incredible
Yes.
cutouts. It's
I like
absolutely
I know, but I
stunning.
mean, this designer and Alex Wang, excuse me, there's no comparison, sorry.
I would agree with that.
This is a designer.
Technically, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, and beautiful color
I love
blue.
these
How
colours.
nice to see.
And
them
actually,
in
that's a
colour.
really, I mean, to use your word, that's a wearable blue. It's
Yeah.
not that, you know,
I
overly
want
petrol.
everything I've seen. This is so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Oh,
Me
that's
too.
chic.
But again, he's always played with these hexagonal and triangular shapes, sort of stitching them together. And I love that you see these kind of these same symbols continue to come on every
Yeah.
piece, and it's such a sign of his strength and confidence, I think.
I like the nude.
They are clothes for a confident modern woman.
Yeah.
We've talked about this through a number of our broadcasts, actually, how the designers at the moment, we were talking about which designers have really thrived during sort of this climate at the moment, and we said it's all the designers who embrace a strong woman in whatever format. So whether that's from someone like Philip Lim, who's a lot lower on the price level, someone like Marios, or someone like Celine, it's this idea of women wearing clothes that, you know, celebrate them.
And also, I think women have a much more fiscal firepower than they have ever done
Yeah.
before.
Well, that and then
we
also,
can buy clothes for ourselves, but not expecting our
That's
husbands
chic.
to
Yes.
buy.
that's a
look
great
at
evening
That's
outfit.
that's
I'd
your style.
go for dinner in that. But I would say too, I mean, when you're talking about firepower, I mean, this generation of designers is actually very lucky to be based in London.
Yeah.
You know, though there has been
wow.
a sort of
That's beautiful.
depression, there's a lot of money here.
Yeah.
And women go into Browns and just snap this up without actually even thinking.
Yeah.
1,500
This is a
for
savvy
a dress.
This is a savvy collection. Like you
Wow.
mentioned, sort of selling it, but if
Yeah.
you look at, there's a really nice range. I know that it's very dress heavy at the start, but there've been some gorgeous separates, and for all different clients. Like we saw that teeny little mini there, which will really appeal to some of those sort of hot young girls we were talking about earlier. But then also a lot of this is going to be
Like
And the
that.
knits.
affordable to an older
interesting
client.
to see.
It's a look, but you could actually buy into the look. So
Yeah.
you can buy the entire look, or you can mix
I
it
would
up,
absolutely buy that knit top. It's
It's
beautiful.
or that.
What do you think of the colour palette? We've talked about that a little bit already, but I think it's very
really
I
chic.
always like it when he does colour.
It's
Yeah.
carefully edited,
Very
but
carefully.
he's making a statement. It's just very elegant.
Wow, I love
actually.
that.
beautiful.
Yeah,
I love these little shoulder details.
I like the sort of lengths he's done the dresses in, the thigh grazing. That's very young, but at the same time, he's done sort of a knee length with a bit of a sex appeal. And it's all very, actually, it's creative, but at the same time, you can slip it on, you know, you can wear it with flats or heels.
The press release mentions that it was inspired by the humble nature of tribalism.
Yeah, I can see that.
But there's nothing humble about it. I mean, it's incredible. It's gorgeous.
I mean, tribal can be such a cliche on the runway.
Yeah,
it's nice to see it done.
This seems to be a chicer way of doing it.
Well, you can see the theme, but it's not sort of overpowering, I think. Something like you've got that kind of witty accessory where it's nice to sort of show, and the great makeup by Val, but the clothes, I think, they're not sort of disrupted by the...
I mean, this is a collection that someone like Alberto Ferretti could look at and say, oh, okay, I should get him in as a consultant to kind of contemporize it. And I think that's actually where, you know...
And that's a sponsor.
Yeah.
and very subtle, actually. His handling of Swarovski is really admirable, very subtle.
I think the most out of any designer.
Yeah, and he actually is someone who...
Wow, look at that.
He loves jewelry.
It's fun.
That's body jewelry, you know? I mean, he actually... And his jewels for Swarovski are fantastic.
Sometimes you see Swarovski in the runway and you go, box tick sponsor. With him, it doesn't ever really feel that way.
No, I don't think
No, he uses it in a really intelligent way.
And I think it feels like he really wants to use it. You know, you never look at it and go, oh, he's just put that on that dress. You know, it feels like it's actually really central to what he's saying.
Who was it said before about the way he puts it through the lining of dresses?
Because it cracks kind of open. He's very interested in nature, isn't he? And he's very intelligent the way he translates that.
But I mean, that's a showstopper. That's Marlene Dietrich. That's Marlene Dietrich from that's the Jean-Louis dress.
Yeah,
he did it last season.
If Jessie J hasn't worn that by the end of the year, I would eat.
No, that's chic.
Yeah,
that should have just out.
Who stars the show?
That's
I
nice.
can't remember. It's driving me mad.
As well.
I can't remember
That's the Jean-Louis reference, and he did that last season too. It's a little bit stick-on, but I think actually what I think what's great. No, I'm talking about the crystal.
Oh wow, I like this though.
That's nice.
I don't know about those shorts actually.
I like it.
I just love the makeup.
She's done a great job. Looks wonderful.
Yeah.
I think with those gowns, you know, he always does a couple of those showstoppers.
That's great.
And that
that's Zoe Saldana.
That necklace over chiffon, he used it last season with the integral necklace in the chiffon.
Actually, I'm not sure when you see the detail. Yeah, no, not into that.
I mean, I think the interesting thing he does with Swarovski, it's like the show, you can feel it's got texture to it. There's so many contrasting materials in a very, you know, with a very light hand.
I love that.
So that's the finale. That's beautiful.
And she appears to have a bottom, which is quite nice.
It's a small...
I wanted to ask about that, about this idea, because we all said how he celebrates curves, and I said, is that something that kind of is almost ironic when you're showing in an industry that puts all its clothes on these kind of teenage bodies? But I think somehow with Marios is you never look at his runways and feel kind of...
Well, I wasn't looking at the models, actually. I was looking at the clothes, which I think is actually what you need to do. And as a designer, you know, I think the age of these sort of... There are personalities out there, but I think, you know, it takes guts to just show the clothes. And the hair is fantastic. I think he really...
I'd love to look at the corsetry underneath some of these dresses. I suspect
the seaming
underneath that it's going to be incredibly complex.
I love the music too.
Oof,
yeah, the music. It opened with Dead Can Dance. We had this.
Okay.
Yeah, patriotic colours as well.
90% I loved.
Yeah,
the Jessie J dress.
All the dresses. Mostly dresses. I mean, mostly entirely dresses.
I love his knitwear.
Did he do any trousers? He did one trouser outfit.
I didn't see any trousers.
There was one. You said it was a good outfit for me.
Oh yes, yes, that's the one.
And actually, he makes great trousers.
That's the one.
He makes really good trousers. And I actually want to see more trousers in that evening
wear.
Those
separates will sell so well.
Yeah.
I would be doing a pre-order for one of those short sleeve insert tops.
I like the very first looks.
Oh,
yay! Oh, he's so sweet. He is great. I really like him.
He's a genius.
Oh, just
and he's a grafter as well. I like the fact that you you're not permanently reading interviews of him showing you his cat or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, this is what I
He's
think
so clever.
He's kind of managed to maintain this air of being kind of above it all, you know, doing his own thing, always being very true to himself.
He's probably
But
too busy.
He's also a really sensitive soul, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, he's a very special person. He's incredibly intelligent, and he's fascinated by like the structure and process of things. Not even, I mean, obviously the outcome as well, but the actual process, I think he talks about as being what he really lives for. And I can understand that.
He's a technical designer.
Yeah.
We did talk about this a little bit before, but it was kind of a crux of what I wanted to talk about, is this idea of kind of sex appeal in fashion, and if that's something that's still relevant, because you have so many really young designers kind of coming out who are playing with ideas of gender, and they present a very sort of androgynous silhouette and a very androgynous sort of aesthetic in general. And that really is very different to what someone like Marios, this is his opening look from today, is doing. Do you think that it's really kind of women in reality would rather wear something that's sexy and glamorous in the traditional sense, or do you think that's changing?
I get incredibly frustrated because I can't buy clothes in 99% of shops. No one designs clothes that fits me. I'm going to put this out there, I have a 32 double G bust. It's real. But women's busts are increasing massively. I am not on my own. And there are no clothes I can buy. I struggle all the time. I don't really care about looking sexy or not. I just want clothes that fit me. And no one really designs the boobs. And women have them, a lot of them.
Well, I actually think, you know, when it comes down to buying clothes, I mean, this isn't really a collection for us. It's for really rich women. And I think when it comes down, to it, I mean, you know, I would buy one outfit at most.
Of course.
But when it comes down to it, you know, men usually buy women clothes in that income bracket. And quite often there's a conversation between the man, well, I'm not going to go out with you if you're wearing that.
So true.
And actually, I think those are clothes that are quite sexy and would, a man would, you know, turn your head if you're walking down the street in that dress. And call me old-fashioned, but that's, oh yeah, that too. But I mean, I think they're, you know, they're really quite refined, but sensual maybe, rather than sexy, actually.
That's the thing I was saying before about women having more physical firepower. A woman would buy that for herself as well as a man buying it for a woman to wear for him. And I think that's a very nice line that he's found that.
But he does work wonderfully well with that. That's a constant in his collections for the last few seasons, that transparent look. And I think it was really beautiful today. There's got a sort of wispy kind of light feeling about it. And actually that is what I like to see in London. I find you're either seeing this really heavy, or like this, in London, I remember the colors were always so dark and odd, but he has brought this different point of view. I mean, he's, you know, Greek, Austrian, that always is an influence. And the colors are actually quite artistic, you know, kind of very painterly.
Very much.
Actually.
But what I like about it is if you look at a picture like of a dress like this, which has got a curve and a body, and you hope that it will filter down, because yes, this collection clearly is not made for someone who shops on the high street, but the high street now, which reacts so quickly to what it sees on the runways, I would hope that more of the high street retailers will look at shows like this that show women in fashion terms that are a bit curvier and clothes that have more of a curve, and then creating that on the high street so that we can all wear them, because this doesn't exist in a bubble just for rich people to buy it. It will be influential beyond that.
And do you think that Marios is one of those designers whose collections do kind of, as you said, filter down?
Yeah, I think they do to a degree, because it's, well, you asked about sexy, and women I think do want to look sexy, and that demure but revealing thing has been a really strong look for a couple of seasons now.
Yeah, with the lace and the sheer, we've seen that everywhere.
I think all the manufacturers and high street brands are looking at, you know, every collection, and there's always, like Karen Millen next season. I mean, it is so staggering now how fast these designers,
unreal,
and even
if you walk past Hobbs, it's Burberry.
or actually, you know, the designers in Milan and Paris, they're looking here for the ideas, you know, increasingly. But I think kind of an interesting word that I discovered with Marios is risk. It's what he says his clothes are about. There's always this risk factor. I mean, he might have toned it down, but I think that's what's kind of interesting about him. He kind of pushes the envelope within this very sort of sophisticated structure.
It's interesting that Todd Lynn showed that sort of very Amazon woman
Yeah,
yesterday as well.
He did tribal yesterday, yeah, but in a very different way.
Well, he always has his powerful warrior woman, but I'm wondering if this is going to be one of the trends that bubbles up for next season.
Tribal. Yeah.
I want to ask, because Bronwyn, you've curated exhibitions based on Bond costumes, and you've written about Bond girls, and I want to ask you kind of how ideas of what is sexy have changed.
Well, I think that's quite Bond girl, actually, and I would love to see one of those dresses in a James Bond movie. I mean, I think, do you want me to talk about Bond? I mean, you know, I think like this whole thing about like feminism and fashion and sex and fashion, I mean, I kind of switch off. Just because I'm, you know, a child, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and it's just, you know, women are equal. My mother was equal to my father. You know, I hope that I'm equal to my partner. But, you know, I just think it's like, and as you say, women buying for themselves. And I think this collection kind of really strikes the balance. And, you know, I think there is a whole thing in fashion. I've really tried lately to support female designers. And because there is this thing, I don't know if I'm going off on a tangent, but you know, the gay male mafia designer, and you can really see it can get quite heavy-handed with some of these collections that are so camp. But actually, I think, you know, with him, it's just very refined, and that word elegant, actually. But it's got a very directional point of view, and a young, I mean, anyone from 18 to 80 could wear that, and I think that for me always is the benchmark.
I'd like to be a Marios woman.
Me too.
And I look at that and think, I'd like to be a I want to be powerful,
as of this season,
confident, with enough money to buy one of his frocks, and money I've made myself.
Yeah, I think there is definitely a sense of sort of empowerment to them. You don't look at those clothes and kind of feel like...
Because a lot of sexy, as done by the gay male mafia, is to do with rigor and bondage and domination.
Well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of...
It's just too noisy.
Do men design better for women, or do women design? Because Jane Shepperson, when she was in, she said, I think women design better for women.
Well, look,
I don't think you can say, I mean, you know, I'm wearing an Erdem dress. It's fantastic in my point of view. You know what I mean? He's a great designer. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you can, but
so many men done so well, especially in
well,
London.
there is, I mean, there is a thing about fashion editors and how they kind of, I don't think women designers have traditionally, you know, had enough. Well, no, I don't think they've had enough support. But that's just
look at Mary Kay. It is phenomenal. You go into her studio just before the orders go out, and there are racks and racks of the names of every big boutique in the world. She has an extraordinary flourishing business. You can buy her clothes in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Madison, Wisconsin, because women want to wear them because they look fantastic.
But Mary's I think Mary's done so well at T2. Mary's a very young designer.
Yeah, they're not.
I mean, it's extraordinary, her trajectory. I mean, it's like that. It's practically vertical, like a rocket pack.
And hers, again, it's a very different idea of what's sexy. I think Mary's clothes are equally sensual to someone like Marios's, but they're much more kind of playful, and she has a different brand.
But they both, in a way, come from the same place, because Marios always says that he starts with the body and works around the woman's body.
That's a good point.
And Mary also puts her prints. She puts her prints around the body.
Yeah,
she's one of the only designers I know that jigs her prints. What's the technical term for jig? when she goes up a different dress size.
Manipulates.
So her size 14 will be different from size 8 because she'll change the print to fit the woman's body. So they are coming from the same starting point of fitting their clothes around a body, not the plank with 2 buttons that so many male designers dress for.
But even...
Sorry, you go.
No, I was going to say that Yamamoto and these types are quite interesting on that discussion, Comme des Garçons, because everyone always says, oh, it's so unsexy, it's like this, and it's like a tent, and there's so much fabric,
Agreed.
whatever else. I totally disagree.
Oh, no.
I think that can be equally sexy. It's just totally different thing. It's how it makes you feel. And
state of mind.
Yeah. And also, it's just... Yeah, it's how it makes you feel when you wear it, and also who you're dressing for, and how it's an architectural thing, and I really think it's equally as sexy in a different way.
I'm interested by what you both said, because it raises this idea of the consumer becoming savvier, because you said it's how it makes you feel, and you mentioned kind of like the fact that Mary does have prints for a different dress size, and I think consumers are kind of, especially women who have the kind of money who can afford Marios or Mary's clothes, they're getting to that point, you know, where they expect that. If they buy a dress in their size, they want the print to work well, and they want it to fit them perfectly.
We have a much more knowledgeable consumer than it.
ever.
It's what I call the grazification of fashion,
Yeah, well,
because
yeah.
essentially what Grazia did was take high fashion to an audience that had never looked at it or even known it had existed before. And people just are so much more educated, and they will save up too. And they will go and buy Mary's dresses in Topshop for £250, which is extraordinary. The price point that exists in the high street and sells out.
I think, you know, what women want from fashion is something that as soon as you put it on is flattering and makes you feel fabulous. And I think the kind of, this collection isn't really changing the world. It isn't like, you know, jaw-droppingly original, but actually like that's a good thing. But I think a real kind of one of the reasons why London designers have kind of made a name is it's almost like a limited edition collection, and I think the consumer really wants that this dress, you know, it's by an interesting designer, they know his name, but you know, every woman when you walk into, say, the Arts Club or wherever else isn't going to have that dress on.
Intelligent,
yeah,
this dress.
but it's like, you know, it's luxury. It's the modern vibe for luxury. It's this sort of limited sense.
I completely agree. And and at their essence, these clothes are uncopyable because they're so complex.
Well, if you look at the technique...
Yeah, if you actually think about how this could be copied, it's like a bit of a danger zone.
Depressing.
Done cheaply, it would be awful.
Well, because the thing is with him, and what he does have an appreciation for, is textiles, and the way he can actually subtly contrast them and actually work with a really beautiful textile is what gives the dress, you know, a kind of lust factor.
I like the transparent parts. There's some looks, because I was going to say that's another thing. It's all quite classic, but talking of sexy, there's a lot of transparency.
There's a bit of Alaya there, like with the belt.
Yeah, I was going to say the belt.
But even like couture pieces I was seeing this season, they have a lot of transparent. I mean, times have changed. All of a sudden, you know, you have half of your boob, you know, flying around. Side boob.
Where did that
love a side boob.
But I think it's a new idea of what's sexy, you know, like women don't want to wear kind of really tight. It's going away from this, we were talking about the kind of uber camp outfits, and rather than having a super tight kind of trussed up outfit.
Well, look how awful Hervé Leisure. I mean, it's just vroom.
I actually think what's really good about this collection too is it spring summer? Is it spring summer? Is it autumn winter?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a dress you could wear any time.
No, that's true.
You know, which I think that's a mainstay of his collection.
It's very, very important, given that half the world is currently in a different climate to us.
I wanted to ask about this because I think we've all kind of talked about what women are going to buy from it and what's sellable, and the type of women who'll buy this and they want the dress to wear and feel fabulous. And I'm interested when you said it's not a groundbreaking collection, but it's a collection that will be really popular, because I think, is that what fashion should be now? You know, designers go, you know what, I don't care what season I'm meant to be showing in, I don't care.
Well,
I just want
to make something my
It's
customer
very,
wants.
very clear that the way the fashion shows work is going to have to change at some point, because we can't keep going to resort and pre-spring and all these, we'll spend our life at fashion shows otherwise.
Well, you don't have to go to all of them.
Believe me, I don't. But the
designers are just going to
they're going to self-implode.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to keep turning it out. But, you know, I think what designers want is, you know, they want, like, say, an artist or a gallery, a collector.
Yeah.
And when you think about Mary, how she's really built a client base is women are collecting pieces. They're not necessarily dresses, they're pieces. And with him, you could build a really strong wardrobe, and in 5 minutes, go into your wardrobe, come out,
absolutely
sleek pair of heels, bit of makeup, and you're done.
But isn't that an argument for this idea of the seasons and the way fashion's presented at the moment, that it should be changed? Because if it is about kind of picking these pieces and kind of curating your wardrobe yourself, why does it matter what season it is? You know,
it doesn't.
I don't think it does at all.
I mean,
it's irrelevant.
It doesn't.
I was in Singapore for Fashion Week, which Colin McDowell curates back in May, and the women there, oh my God, do they buy? There were clients flying in to Pua, one of the big boutiques there, from Bangkok to buy during the shows. And every night I would go to the dinners. Nicola was showing, I can't can't remember who else, Tony Berardi showed there, all sorts of different people. Every night the girls come to the dinners in the hotel after the designer wearing full-on runway looks. I've never seen anyone wear an £8,000 Mary Kay dress to have dinner in before. Because everyone in London buys the selling collection, which is, for those who don't know, like the £800 version of the £8,000 embroidered one that goes down the runway. And the women in Singapore buy full-on Balmain, full-on Mary Kay runway looks. One night, Alex and Premier, who was out there with Tallulah, said he spotted 8 Mary Kay runway looks.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, extraordinary.
Can we look through more of it? Yeah. I actually, I love the dresses, and I love the varying lengths, actually.
I want to know, is this pleated like a Fortuny dress?
Yeah, it is. It's little tiny pleats. We can go to some close-ups in a bit if you'd like.
But I like it, and I think it is a sort of, you could, wear sort of award season.
Beautiful.
Right?
Really
it could be quite award season.
The reason I was thinking of Singapore is this trans-seasonal thing, because the women there just wear whatever, because they've got air conditioning.
It is a bit football, isn't it?
It looks
and I
weirdly
think
like
same with this, it doesn't say winter or summer, it just says
you have
great
to do
clothes.
that if you want to sell, I think
I don't like that either, personally.
I would have liked to have seen a few more trousers.
I don't like that hexagonal design. It looks like a sort of...
Interesting no trousers for... But I think maybe that is the spring-summer, it's a nod to something more kind of flirty and more...
You can still wear trousers in summer.
Do you like that?
I love that. You can see that on so many young...
Really?
Yeah, so many young girls will wear that. It's kind of, it's a red carpet.
Yeah, it's a young...
That's one of the ones for that actress.
That's for Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, I'd like to see her wear something that she's not getting a paycheck for.
Yes, Bronwyn.
See, that's very spring.
It's a nice coat.
Really, but lovely.
It's nice. I mean,
but
that's
Bronwyn.
That is.
That I like.
Bronwyn.
There's a lot of lace. Interesting to see. Oh, did she?
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's good.
Katie England.
She's got the touch.
Oh, yes, that's it. Yes,
and actually, it's
it's
edgier.
Love that sweater.
Yeah, that's a nice look. That's a great look.
I don't really like the shoes though.
I think shoes didn't work with that.
It's a show.
But you can imagine that it's a show shoe.
I don't like them for the show though.
It's a show shoe.
I'm not into them even for the show shoe.
See that sweater with that cutout is so sexy. So someone like me who's bigger can wear it and still feel...
Fun. Interesting to see he's gone down this lace route.
Well, I think what Sasha was saying about the sweater, it's so interesting because that's a bit of him, it's a bit of the lingerie, it's a bit of the kind of the sexy, the sheer, but in a sweater, as you were saying, anyone could wear that.
Wear it with pants,
a 20-year-old could wear that, or an 80-year-old could wear that.
The outfit,
It's a bit of his kind of...
And it would fit anyone in any size.
Yeah,
it's nice
the
to
shoes
see.
are really throwing me off. They look like some gone wrong.
That's not fair. Those are... I like those. I like those. Oh, please, don't compare.
They look like sort of Uggs gone wrong or something.
You don't like the sandals?
No, not at all. I think they're revolting.
All of them?
Yeah.
I actually thought it worked.
In terms of the show, I like this.
I love the clothes, but no, not...
Should we have a look at some of the close-ups? So what are our gut reactions? Everyone seems to be
I think it's a
really
strong
keen.
collection.
Very, very good collection.
I like it. I like, it's pretty difficult when you dissect things.
Yeah.
With the
I
exception
think
of the Jessie J dress, I love it.
Yeah. I have seen him do better floor length. I've actually seen much. I think that's a great shoe, actually. I like it. It's fine. Reminds me of a Chanel.
It's very like his early thing
totally
as well.
his style. That's the
good.
nature thing as well.
It's nice.
Oh.
But it's a runway.
You're not going to pop to Tesco in them, are you?
Why not? I would.
I'll start talking about the shoes
You're
now.
flying the flag for the shoes. Bronwyn loves.
I think it worked. I mean, it's not it's a runway accoutrement.
I think that's the thing with
That's very
It
shoes.
is,
Yeah.
isn't it?
I like that flash.
I wonder, you look at that, because Michelle Obama has one of those Alaya belts that she wears. She wore to some European convention. You can kind of see her in some of these.
I know.
dresses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so.
She's too boring.
She's too big.
What?
She's a little bit army.
She's got
biceps.
I think she's incredible.
She's powerful.
Keep her
Yeah,
in
she's amazing.
Tracy
Amazing
Reese and J. Crew.
She looks great. She's just all these London's just so much more exciting than New York. Sorry, but it is.
Yeah. That's a great shoe, I think.
I love that shoe.
I think the color contrast in this collection is really strong. That sort of
the
flesh
movement
pink.
of the shoe on the runway.
Yeah, I
great.
think it's fun and it's that tribal element. It's something.
I'm not going to be wearing them myself.
That's
a
a
beautiful
Oh, that's
shoe.
You
much
can't-
better.
I know, but Andrea, you couldn't do that shoe for the
True.
entirety of the
Yeah,
collection.
true.
I mean,
True.
That's not even really a runway
No, I
shoe.
know.
it's kind
But
of
that
interesting.
is
Oh, yeah, quite
beautiful.
like that.
So sexy.
Yeah, but her, it's very difficult to look at this close up.
Yeah.
It's almost like dissecting it.
Ooh, I'm not into that one.
No.
What do you think of that print?
Tone it down. But see, I mean, great. That's a great top.
That is.
You like that?
Yeah,
It's a red carpet dress. It'll look great.
It's fun.
Wow,
It's-
that
and you
models-
can make it longer. You could make
See,
it
I
longer.
love this coat, and I think
Me too.
Yeah,
I
great.
reckon that
Love
sell
it.
and sell and
So
sell
chic.
because
Love
women
it.
want to invest
Yeah.
in a new coat every season. They've got
That's-
the Crombie, they've got the Burberry. What are
it's
they going to buy
deluxe.
now? They'll buy something sexy and
Wonderful.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
That will sell,
That-
sell.
And there's a lot going on there, but very subtly.
See, this I just think is so clever. 'Cause
Love,
it's
love,
so
love, love.
it's doing what you were saying. It's building a brand. He's saying, okay, I've done these gorgeous dresses, but what are women going to buy? What do they want from me? They want like a sweater. They want something they can wear, but it's still so true to him.
How are we
Your
going to try and
favourite.
recreate that makeup? Yes,
I know.
I'm over the shoes now.
The broadcast later today, I'll try to do my own version of belly button.
That's good.
That's hard.
Is it a little bit Rifat Ozbek? I mean, I'm that old that I can remember. I think there might be a little bit Rifat in there, which I think he is like one of the greatest
On
ever.
the plus side, no one else is going to ever recognise it.
Yeah.
But I like that.
I like that. Do you not like it?
I do, but
I
I'm
love
wondering actually,
I
the
don't like
lace
red and
thing,
black
the
very
lace thing is a move to me with him for commercial, because lace is so everywhere, but I still like it. I like the way
it.
he's worked
I
with
think
it.
it's
That's
beautiful.
great.
Oh.
I mean, look, that's the dress.
So
Does that sell? That's
beautiful.
sold, right?
It's a great photo.
And
Yeah, it is.
beautiful
It's
colors.
wonderful.
Yeah, you could put it on a wall.
I want to get to the
Nice.
Jessie J dress.
Oh God.
Erdem did
Do
that
we have
color
to?
scheme.
Has to be done. I want to see it.
That's
closer.
great.
like
Let's
that.
see that.
Really
That's
clever,
great.
clever,
And that's
clever,
him,
clever.
right? There's the jewel, right? There's the
I
jewel.
can see Michelle Obama in
It's
that.
great.
You're right. You know, they're sexy, but they're
arms.
strong. Yeah, with her incredible arms. Just beautiful.
Like,
I like the jewels. I like the jewel. Thought it worked on the other dress better.
Yeah.
oh, I love this one.
It's
The body
it's-
Oh,
jewelry
I like
is
this
beautiful.
one. I really, really
A
like
bit
it.
tricky around
It's a bit like the
this one.
Fanny Schiavone
Ooh,
harnesses.
gross.
It just needs to be reimagined.
Wow, exactly. This is something Ice Skate would wear.
But
I
this,
know, but it's
so
very,
tall and
it's
deep.
very
That's what I was
difficult to
thinking
look
about.
at that in a crop. I mean, we can't see it lengthwise or
Oh yes. Oh.
nice.
Yeah, that's
Very
That's
interesting.
very sexy.
Yeah.
Ooh, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh.
it's just.
Oh God.
That's
Oh,
a nice skater.
God.
That is a nice.
That's a
But it
real
makes me want to
red
start humming
herring.
Bolero.
What happened there?
It's a
But I
red
think
herring.
you know it's a.
It looks
it's
like
a
she's
red-
got weird hairy tits. It's just so weird.
And also,
It
can you
looks-
imagine dancing in that because all those like long bits will start flapping up.
It's just not
And also,
working.
what worries me is it goes right up to her chin.
It looks so bizarre.
It's the actual sheath is like very.
It's like a bit plastic surgery sort of weird
Yeah.
vibe.
It's not a
There's
winner.
something wrong
It's a
with it.
costume. It's a costume.
But you know, he's showing on a runway.
Yeah,
it's,
fine.
It's kind of a fun.
We'll forgive him, whatever. He's amazing.
that did not work.
I'm sure someone somewhere in Germany will call it in for an editorial.
They can like Jessie J.
These are a little bit touch and go. These cycling shorts. Has that
Jessie
been?
J's agent.
Sasha, has that been a? Have there been any of these shorts anywhere?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of cycling
Really?
shorts. That's my
someone
bad
did
youth in
cycling
the
shorts
80s.
in New York.
I wasn't
That's
a
true,
fan,
I
but
heard
I
that.
think this particular one looks quite cool like that.
I think it's cool.
Okay,
That
so-
is gorgeous.
It's
That's
for a young
ravishing.
girl.
I can see
Yeah.
that on
Yeah.
Zoe
Yeah.
Saldana.
Or a musician.
Yeah,
at
it's of a
the
type, but it
Brits
can...
or Brit Awards.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you look at the
Her
kind of women
boobs
who've
look
worn his
lovely.
clothes, like look
Oh,
at like you
wow.
can see it
Yeah.
on those kind of women.
She
Like,
is so boring.
I think she's beautiful.
Oh, I don't.
God, it's all coming
The
out.
shoes.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Why are we
would
just
you wear
like...
not wear? Oh, the shoes.
The dress is gorgeous,
What are
actually.
those shoes?
But
Gorgeous.
Zoe should
Fantastic.
Yeah, she looks wonderful.
I actually, I think I tried that dress on. And the thing is, when you do try the dresses on, we do wear them. They're very, they make you feel fantastic.
Yeah.
Which is when you're paying that kind of money, you need it.
So,
But it is about the corsetry,
the
actually,
consent-
too. There's a lot of that in there.
the consensus is we're impressed though.
Very.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's
He's
so
a genius. He's
technically
really,
accomplished.
really intelligent.
Beautiful.
There has always been that criticism of the London designers that their technical ability doesn't always
Yes.
match
Yeah.
up
Yes.
to their ideas.
Yes.
When you look at a
And
dress
you
like
see
that,
it on the runway and you're like,
And also, you know, the great thing about this, you know, he did have the guts to send out that sort of wiggy blue dress, but you would never see that in New York because all those designers are so shivering about getting the sort of Saks order.
They'd be like, oh my God, Ken Downey's in the front row. We can't possibly stand Newman's.
And I actually, that's what the joy of London is, that, you know, his favorite word, risk, is that they're willing and they're confident enough, send it out, but see what I have also, you know?
But and the people that buy the clothes, they're not afraid, you know, to be who they are, they just go for it.
Yeah, I just think it's great to see someone who knows their work inside out. He can tailor, he does the embellishment. It's beautiful, beautiful work.
He knows.
I was in Harvey Nicks looking for something recently, and they have a great, great buy, but some of the pieces from young British designers hanging up there for 800 quid looked like they'd been blown together, not sewn together.
Yeah, and that's the cheaper end, actually.
The seams were wonky, and I'm not going to spend 800 quid on a dress anyway, but for an investment, even with my press discount, no. At least with this, you know you're getting your money's worth.
I mean, look at that.
I want to buy more than just an idea.
Amazing.
Well, also, it really is, I would say, the year of embellishment. Like that was a trend last year at Louis Vuitton. And, you know, he's picked it up. I think it's going to be a constant in fashion now. It's this trying to go down the demi-couture route. And I think he's done it. I think he's done it.
Yeah,
and in an interesting way with the raffia. You know, he probably won't make every dress with that sort of raffia. It's a runway, you know, look. But I think the dresses are beautifully constructed. I would say my only criticism, I mean, this is a personal thing. I don't love skirts. But I mean, I think the whole trouser thing, he has a lot of tops on dresses that would look fantastic with really slick cigarette trousers.
Great is, you know, women can buy them and wear them in whatever you want.
But he's a talent.
It's great to see Triumph.
What's that?
Now, aren't Triumph, didn't Triumph sponsor him?
The official.
It's the first time that Triumph,
I see what you mean.
Have had a lingerie sponsor, and Triumph are very, very, very overexcited because it's the first time they've put any of their designs on a runway.
It's just such a beautiful colour.
But don't you love
that
the
is
fact that his
beautiful.
dad worked for Triumph
I know,
and now
it's so
he's being
sweet.
sponsored by Triumph? I love that.
But that is very chic.
It's a
The
nice
gold with the black.
And the makeup.
So I'm wondering what that corset is underneath there.
Should we give him a round of applause to wrap things up then?
Yay! Well done!
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.